Hey everybody, what's up? You saw what we're gonna do today, and big thanks to Boris Quezada. This guy, he's amazing, really great in Tyflow and in his art. I had this question in Tyflow group and he came up with the solution that's really beautiful and I want to share with you step by step. The devils is on the details, so I'm gonna break down for you the logic behind this setup. We're going to create not so many particles, around 10, 20. Those will be converted in a VDB particle, and then we're going to have a force field around them. Those are the force field. And then we're going to create a bunch of particles, 1000 or more. And those will follow this field, as you can see here. And they gonna spawn around this field. And then you're gonna make a tie mesh. Here's the tie mesh around those spawn particles. And you can put forces to drive it, different things, but here is the main component, VDB force. So let's go step by step. You're gonna need a box. It's really important to keep the reference if you want to replicate exactly what I want. Because if you make all the same values but 5 centimeters, everything gonna be really crazy. So you need a box and then Tyflow, and so let's birth 0, 10 particles, and then position object, select the box. Also important to have particle groups when you're going to convert to VDB, and set up one group number 1. Now let's go to VDB, birth VDB, particles to SDF, and then we click include these float particles, and then we select only group number 1. That will be this event. We're gonna have a second event as we saw previously. So from here we can use VDB display to check what's going on. VDB to particles, we can make it really big. We're not going to use to see, unless that you want, of course. But let's try big here, number. And now VDB modify, you're gonna need 2 of them. The first one you leave as it is, and the second one we're gonna cross vector. So what it does, it turns the vector into a spiral, let's say. So it starts turning. And the way that you can modify the axis that it's turning is here, the vector. So you see if you put 1, it starts to change the angle. So you can play with this for your setup. And also on output, you can play with this to be more strong or not. And here in particles to SDF, the size of the particle that you convert also will modify the vector field. Now let's create, we can copy this, click paste, particle group, let's check another group here, just make sure. Instead of faces, we need volume. And we can create 500 particles. We don't need to see the particles, we don't need to see the display. Let's change the color to make it better to see, and to sprites. Just make sure that you can see everything is happening. So now we can use VDB force. Is automatic, taking the VDB in account, so it starts to turning, as you can see here. So let's make a spawn. To make it work, you need to click and drag here, new event, and add nothing but just the particle. And to follow, that's one of the detail that I was struggling with. In spawn once, you spawn by travel, by distance. So you see that start to spiraling out. So to avoid that, you need to come down here, inherit properties, and then velocity you want to put to 0. So it just like follow exactly the shape. That's great. That's the very basic. And now we can start to change this a little bit by putting another force, for example. Can put gravity. So the time that's spiraling start to go down, for example, or can put some force here, so it start to going a little bit crazy. Anyway, now we need to put a time measure. Select Tyflow. I want to turn off the force just to see exactly what's happening. So from here, we can go back to VDB force and multiply by 5. Also the input, output, you can play with it. This is other important to play with. Don't put really big numbers in the full narrow band because it's gonna be very slow. 10 seems to be a very good number. And to give that look of architecture or something, that's really interesting setup that Boris did, was to put a push value to minus 0.5, for example. Then put a relax. Here we can turn off the display. So depend if you want animation or just the final result. There you go. You can play with forces. Now a little bonus that this force field is being generated based on the particles that we create. But what happens if you use an object to SDF? Let's try it. Here you can see, you can turn off, this is the particles that you generate based on this event, but you can skip altogether this part and use only object to SDF, for example. And there you go. So let's put inside the box, that's where we create the particles that will follow the force field. If they are not nearby, they will not follow. I will hide the objects, I will hide the box, display off, and let's see the result. Let's put some force. That's it for today. Hope you like it. See you next one.